Hey everybody, it's Jess. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the statement of purpose, that process and the application. I got a lot of good tips for you guys. I'm just going to give you the framework for what I use to create my statement of purpose. Be sure for all statement of purpose to make sure that you talk to your professors, get it proofread, get multiple opinions. Don't just, use mine as a tool, like use it for something to maybe frame it to start out with, but also get second opinions as well. Before I get into this video, I got this shirt, okay? My friend Brian made it. If you guys are interested in it, let me know. Just email me and he can make it specifically for you guys, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and get straight into this video. One of my first things that I wanna talk to you guys about is your motivation for studying what it is you wanna do. Before you write your statement of purpose, you need to figure it out. You need to figure it out, okay, what is it that you want to do like with this? So obviously you need to know your research interest, the program you're applying to, like why you want to apply there, who that professor is, why you want to work with them. But you also need to know your strengths. You also need to know your experiences, and you also need to know what drew you to this field. Like, what is it about this field that you want to get into it that you have to be there for it, okay? So once you answer those questions, let me make sure I got all of those on there, because yeah, why you're applying, and oh yes, why you're a good fit for the program. If I didn't already say that, I'm saying it again. Make sure you know that. This is important. Answer these questions is important because your statement of purpose is really going to communicate that information to them, and you want to be sure that you are conveying whatever it is you're trying to get out right, all right? You don't want to give them the wrong impressions, that you don't really know what you want to do, and blah, blah, blah. So I got you guys to kind of give you the best statement of purpose that I can. Mine's is a page. I will always recommend your statement of purpose be a page, single space. Double space, it'll be 2. Single space, page. Do not make it longer. They're not going to be reading all of that. So just keep it short, keep it a page. Unless they ask for more information, please just keep it a page, okay? So the first thing, so how I started mine is, now I'm getting ready to go into framing it, okay? So how did I frame it? So I started off with saying, Dear Psychology Search Committee. I'm going into a psychology program that makes sense for me to say, Dear Psychology Search Committee. Boom, space. My name is Jessica Enns, and I want to pursue a PhD in IELTS psychology at blank university. Boom. All right. Then I went into my primary research interests are in the realm of diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Specifically, I hope to pursue further research on discrimination and blah, blah, blah. My first paragraph was 3 sentences. So keep it short. This is a quick introduction. They're gonna get to know you more, like when you start talking, when you go further. So don't worry about including everything in one thing. Just give them a very brief summary of what it is that you are trying to do, okay? In my last video, I talked about how I talked about statement of purpose a little bit, how you don't want to put your whole life story in it. This one, the next paragraph, you can talk a little bit about your life story, and basically what it should be is your motivation for the research that you want to look at, right? So I got right into that. I didn't give them some long drawn out story about why I chose IELTS psychology as my interest for a career. I just got it straight to the point of like what drew my interest to this career, or, to this area. So it literally said, my motivation for researching diversity-related workplace issues comes from my personal experience in the workplace. Boom. Okay, I elaborated a little bit more. I went into saying, as a female with big hair, I have been told to tame my hair in the workplace. In one incident, when the boss came to visit our store, I was asked to go to the back because my hair was deemed inappropriate to our manager. That experience, it hurt me. I never want anyone to feel that way. Therefore, I want to use research as a method to shed light on these issues and blah, 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 blah. That was literally a sentence long. So you see how I took my motivation for researching it, put my little personal experience in, and then tied it right back into why I want to look at this specific thing in the workplace. It makes sense. It all goes together. It's not something that I kind of went on a tangent about my personal life. You want to keep that short, they don't care. Okay, they don't care. Keep it short, make it a little bit interesting, put that personal experience that you've had with it, and then go from there, okay? Okay, so the third like the next two paragraphs, so your third and fourth paragraph, should be about your current research. So for instance, what you've done. So for me, I talked about my thesis, like that was in my first paragraph. And here, like kind of what I explained, like what I'm looking at, the main focus of the study, what it's doing, so the purpose, like why am I studying this, why is this important, and then also my role in the project. And kind of when you're talking about a thesis, well, they automatically assume you took the lead on this, right? Because you did, like that's your thesis. But if you did a project and you was like second author, or it wasn't even published, but you're still in the project and you was kind of like the co-investigator, make sure you list what that was, like what your role was, and explain it. So I'm kind of gonna start from my thesis and just kind of give you guys like a brief like summary of it. So how I started it, currently my thesis focuses on skin tone variation, its effects on ratings of blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, this research is an attempt to uncover rater biases associated with skin tone of minorities. The effects of colorism have been explored in the clinical, social, and counseling literature, but not much has been investigated in the IO literature. And then under the guidance of my professor at that time, my goal with this research is to add to the scant IO literature and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. That was about my thesis. I just kind of talked about what it's doing, why I'm doing it, why it's important. Then in the next thing, like again, if you don't have a thesis, you can just get specific about, like I already said, get specific about your role on certain projects. So I've sort of framed it like this. I'm going to read this actual paragraph to you guys because I think it'll be better for those, especially if you haven't done like an undergraduate thesis or a thesis in general. This will be a little bit more beneficial for you all. So, while initiatives to promote diversity have come a long way, more work is needed. Because of this, I'm eager to further explore minority experiences. This curiosity led to my involvement in development of a scale created by so-and-so. This scale seeks to understand the experience of African Americans, formal and informal interactions with different student organizations, activities, subgroups, and their impact on academic blah, 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 and predominantly white institutions. I'm serving as a co-investigator on this study where I acted as a group facilitator, and I will be conducting data analysis later in the study. This study was going on as I was doing this. As a group facilitator, I guided discussion, encouraged communication, and debriefed participants. Boom, right there, okay? I gave them what it was I'm doing, and it's still related to like what it is I want to study there at this school I'm at now. And then I gave my role in it and explained my role, okay? Short, this was about 2 paragraphs. Each was about 5 or 6 sentences, so it wasn't like I was just not, when you write it, things are like more expressed when you write things, but yeah, so that was that. So in paragraph 5, you want to talk about the extracurricular activities you engaged in and also the weakness of your application. And if you can, try to combine those, okay? So what do I mean by that? Say your GRE, like my GRE in quant was very low, okay? I had a low quant score. So what I did, I actively pursued opportunities to show that my GRE is not reflective of my abilities. So I became a teaching assistant in statistics. I made sure I did well in all my all my statistics classes, and also I was a tutor at one point as a statistics tutor. So if you can do that, this is the perfect place to do that, like to combine your extracurricular activities and also your weakness into one. If you can't do that, then of course just list like what your extracurricular activities were, and then kind of go into the weakness of your application and what you've done maybe on loan or whatever to fix that, to help, I don't know, attenuate that or something, okay? So here, this is kind of what, I'm just kind of going to give you guys a paragraph that I use. Again, just a paragraph, about 5 or 6 sentences. And I said, during my time at Blank University, I have undergone rigorous statistical training where I acquired top box status throughout my coursework. Furthermore, I was selected to serve as a teaching assistant for an upper level undergraduate statistics class. Here I explain statistical concepts, blah, blah, blah. Ascribe my performance in this domain partly to my motivation, time management skills, blah, 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 blah. which have benefited me throughout my studies. Therefore, I believe that my quantitative GRE score does not reflect my actual abilities in statistics, mainly because of the structure of the test, where earlier math concepts are used adaptively to screen people out and later advanced blah, blah, blah. So that was my last sentence. So you see how I kind of just put those, you know, all together, and like I put my extracurricular and my what do you call this? My weakness of my application. I noticed my last sentence was a definite, how do I say this? It was a risk for me, mainly because it can come across as if you're making excuses. So if you're uncomfortable with, I wouldn't say like, if you're uncomfortable with saying what I said when I said like, well, because of the structure of the test, I feel like it's just, you know, irrelevant or whatever, but it's because some professors really do take like a lot, they put a lot of faith in their GRE, and that could be coming across as an excuse to them. So I would, you know, you could just say like, I don't believe the GRE reflects my abilities because how well I did in these areas. It could be just as simple as that, you're done. I had a lot of other extracurricular activities I engaged in. I was a president of a club. I was really involved on campus. I was a part of the President's Diversity Council, but I didn't put all that in there because I knew the weakness of my application, and that weakness was my GRE quant score. And I had to make sure that they knew this is not a reflection of me. So I kind of had to elaborate a little bit more, a little bit further on that. So you guys make sure, don't put just fluffy information in there, like really like cater that to what it is you need to be conveyed, because a lot of that stuff will come out just on your CV. If you was a president or whatever, that's going to come out on your CV. If you was highly engaged, it's going to come out on your CV. So don't worry about that as much as you need to worry about compensating for why, or explaining for why your GRE is low and why you feel it doesn't really represent your abilities in that regard, okay? But other than that, like, that's kind of how I structured that fifth paragraph. I also kind of want to say this does apply for GPA. Say your GPA, like your overall GPA is just low, and you need to explain that. Then explain it. Like say, well, in my earlier career or whatever, college, whatever, something happened and I wasn't just able to focus like that. But your major GPA is high. Like you need to say, but you know, however, my GPA, my major reflects blah 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 blah. So kind of like, I mean, obviously there are different weaknesses for different people, okay? But just sort of talk about it in a way. I don't want to say don't have too many weaknesses, but really elaborate on the ones that, we all have a lot of weaknesses, but really elaborate on the ones that matter the most, okay? And in this application process, it's all about research, your GRE, and GPA does matter. As long as you get a good GPA, if you meet the minimum of their program, and if your overall score is not really that good, then kind of talk about that a bit. But just, again, understand what your weaknesses are and go from there, and explain why, and then how you've combated, how you've done better since since of that weakness. Well, this is what happened, but this is what I've been doing to make it better. So, yeah, okay. So we're about to move on to paragraph 6. So your last paragraph, your 6th paragraph, is kind of like a recap type of rewrap. A wrap up. I don't even know where I got that from. And a recap. Okay, so here you want to rename where you want to go and why you want to go there. So here you want to talk about what drew you to the program. So you're just renaming the program, and then you're saying, this is what drew me to this program. Like, I like it because, is it because of the research opportunities? Is it because it's a diverse program? Or is it because of the work that's been produced out of this program? You just find it fascinating. You want to be a part of it, and you want to mold it and help it and all this other stuff. So you kind of probably keep it to 4 or 5 reasons why you really want to be there, but and then you want to go on to say, list the professor you want to work with and why you want to work with them. So you want to work with them because their research is similar to yours, and then if you can, list the way how you plan to extend their research. And I'm going to give you guys an example of that in a minute, but just try to figure it out. Like, well, I really want to look at, so my professor, I'm just going to use it. My professor, he looked at colorism in a social aspect, but he never thought about looking at it in an IO aspect. So I was the one who said, I would really like to look at colorism in the workplace and extend your research that way. So that's a way to do that, okay? So let me read this. And this statement of purpose wasn't in response to the professor I'm with now, but so I didn't write. Again, you're gonna tailor it, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in a minute, but so let me go ahead and get to it. So I wish to continue my studies at blank university because of the research opportunities, the excellent work that has been produced by graduate students and faculty, and because of the diverse students. There are several professors whose work I find fascinating, stimulating, and relevant to my interests, primarily Dr. So-and-so, whose research focuses on diversity and discrimination in the workplace. Additionally, I appreciate Dr. So-and-so's experience dealing with populations that are hard to access, and I look forward to extending my research to include these populations. Based on my research of the program, the work of the professors, and the work of the graduate students, I do feel that blank university PhD program in blank psychology is a great fit for my interest. Bam. Got it all in there using keywords that are like, oh, fit. There we go, you know. That's more of the psychology part of it. But yeah, so that's a way to do it. So that pretty much wraps up my framework for you guys to use. I'm gonna leave you guys with some last tips. Please start early, just start early, start as early as possible. Again, I ran through like multiple drafts. I was looking at my thing and I ran through like 6 or 7 drafts, probably 10, I don't know. Cause I'm telling you guys, it was crazy. I got multiple people to read it. I got multiple people to look over it, students, faculty. If you can get somebody that deals with applications, like actually, you know, looks at them and stuff. I know some schools don't have, you know, programs like that, so you don't really have access to. But if you can find a professor and you know a professor and they'll look over it for you, let them, like, get as much feedback as possible. I got feedback from my family. I got feedback from my peers as far as in the student peers, and I got feedback from my professors, and I got feedback from students, graduate students who are already in PhD programs. So I really got as much, I really try to get a 360 degree, you know, feedback. You're gonna have to make decisions for yourself and decide, you know, some people are gonna say, oh, leave this out or leave this in. You're gonna have to make that executive decision to see what fits and what's best for your interests. But just always, the more the merrier. Like, let people come in, let people critique you. Because you never know how they might phrase something and you're like, oh, I really like how you phrase that, or, you know, something like that. You just never know, right? Again, rewrite, write. Seek out other sources. See how other people have done it. See, you know, like, oh, I really like how they conveyed that point. Let me see how I can, you know, don't copy people, obviously. Don't copy, okay? But, you know, see how you can, you know, make it in a way that fits you, right? No life stories. We not doing that. No life stories, okay? And again, make sure, I didn't even say this, but please be sure to change and cater each of your statement of purpose drafts to each university, to each professor. I had my first paragraph and my last paragraph was what changed the most, okay? And there was just specific sentences in there that changed because the meat of it was gonna stay the same. Like the 2nd through 5th paragraph, those were the same because that's just explaining my experiences. But those first ones, the school I wanted to go to, the professors I want to work with, why I wanted to work with them, those change because each school and each professor are different. So don't give everybody the same thing. You have to make sure you list who it is you want to work with. You have to make sure you list the school. Please double check it. Don't list the wrong school or wrong professor and send it to the wrong place. Like, just double check yourself. And yeah, so that concludes all my tips. I hope these tips help you. Let me know let me know anything else you guys want to know about. You can put it in the comments. You can write me, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.